when I totally gave up any resistance to my experience, I mean, truly gave that up. And that had to be not just a mental giving up, but not just an emotional giving up, but truly a visceral felt sense of completely letting that go, relaxing into the now. I found that that was the beginning of peace. I could touch peace. I could touch freedom. And eventually that became, if you like, my way, the only way that I knew how to live. And that took me to a whole other inner landscape of existential suffering. And then there was a deeper surrender. So I learned, if you like, that surrender was the doorway to freedom.
Welcome to Letting Go and the Greatest Secret, where we explore the end of your suffering and the beginning of lasting happiness. I'm Hale Dwoskin, and today I'll be speaking with Amoda Maa. Amoda Maa is a contemporary spiritual teacher and author, offering a profound invitation to all who wish to embody the truth of awakened consciousness in everyday life. She has been sharing her teachings since 2012, initially at small gatherings in the UK. Since 2016, she's been living in the US, and today her teachings are followed by a growing number of seekers worldwide. Can you tell us a little bit about what your central teaching or focus is? So as a start for our conversation.
Always a challenge to put into a nutshell because it's
yes.
broad, but I'll try.
No, do your best. Again, this is just whatever feels like the right thing to share in this moment. I'm sure every time you share it, it changes a little depending on what's being called for. So that's fine.
Okay. So essentially, I invite people to know their true nature as openness and to live as that in the everyday, ordinary world. So it's an invitation to awaken out of the dream state of the ego self and to live that truth in everyday reality. To embody that truth, which is where the seeming challenge is.
Yes. That often it is the challenge where we feel like we have to live it and we don't know how, or we're not capable of it, but isn't life itself a reflection of this ultimate openness? Isn't everything on some level that openness already?
It is, yes. It's just not recognized as that.
Right.
Yeah. We are that openness. It is that openness,
yes.
But it's not recognized. So that openness, which is somehow sensed, most people sense that openness is the source, if you like, of freedom, of peace. But it's not recognized as already here.
Yes.
And so then it's something that we have to try to be open.
Yes. So are you saying that we should try to be open, or are you saying that that openness just needs to be discovered?
I would say that it needs to be discovered.
Yes.
But along the way of that discovery, often there is a sense that there is somebody here that needs to open. That's not the ultimate truth of it, but it feels that way. So we kind of work on all levels.
Yes. You work at where people think they are.
Yes. You can only meet. We can only meet each other where we're at.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and how do you help people explore this openness that already is? From both perspectives, one from recognizing that it is already, and from helping people where they're at.
I don't have a formula. There's nothing, there's no method or formula or, preset kind of teaching in this. I'm really exploring with individuals through direct inquiry, through dialogue, through intimate and honest sharing over a period of time. So it's in that, if you like, crucible of intimate, let's call it self-exposure from the innermost, that we can actually explore and untangle and point to something.
Yes. So, how can we share this with the audience, though? That's what I'm looking for. Is there something we can discuss? Again, can we have a dialogue that would help people recognize what you're talking about, or can there be a dialogue with the audience as a group? Or I just want to include them. I completely agree with always openness, and our work does share the commonality of supporting people where they're at to recognize the openness and to live it. So how can we do that together as a conversation, or however you'd like to explore it?
I guess we start with looking at where we are not that. Yeah. So, essentially, people, an individual would come with what is seemingly the obstacle or the problem or the suffering. What's causing suffering in your life?
Yes.
Yeah. So I go on that. It's like, what are you bringing that needs to be examined? So somebody's having, problems in their relationship or problems at work. I don't mean, problems to do with really it is on a relative level, but it's we're not going to find solutions on that level. It's like what's causing suffering in you, what's causing an inner tightness, what's causing a clenchedness, what's causing resistance, and then we look at that. So that's the self-exposure. You, the person I'm speaking with, will expose what it is that they are in resistance to, what it is that they are fighting against, what it is they are arguing against. And through that dialogue, then we'd actually start pointing to something that's more open than that, that's more relaxed than that, and what wants to come home to that openness. Yeah, because that's what everybody really yearns for. What wants to come home and truly relaxed in the depth of being.
Yes.
Yeah? So that's, I guess, the starting point of the conversation. I'm not, let's put it this way, Hale, I'm not stuck on openness. Yeah. That's not the only conversation.
No.
Yeah. So when I'm working with people, for instance, or offering whatever it is that I offer, we're not just focused on one thing. We're really just reflecting back to the depth of being in whatever way is appropriate for each individual, whether that's surrender. I speak a lot about surrender. That's obviously the doorway to openness. What does that mean? There's so much confusion of what surrender is.
So could you speak more about what it is from your perspective?
Surrender is the end of resistance, the end of the argument with what is. For me, that was like the foundation. I wasn't personally seeking enlightenment or awakening. I was seeking happiness or peace.
Yes.
Yeah, from my suffering, and so I found, just through my own experimentation and inquiry, and also a kind of visceral sense that when I totally gave up any resistance to my experience, and I'm not talking just about circumstances, I'm talking to about my inner experience.
Yes.
Yeah. My judgment of it, my categorizing or interpreting it as a good experience or a bad experience or a spiritual experience or an unspiritual experience, any inner kind of division, when I gave that up, I mean, truly gave that up, and that had to be not just a mental giving up, but not just an emotional giving up, but truly a visceral felt sense of completely letting that go, relaxing into the now. I found that was the beginning of peace. Yeah? Yes. I could touch peace. I could touch freedom. And eventually that became, if you like, my way, the only way that I knew how to live. And that took me to a whole other inner landscape of existential suffering. And then there was a deeper surrender. So I learned, if you like, that surrender was the doorway to freedom. Mm. Yeah. So now I can speak of it or point to that, having tasted its felt sense, its and its potential, but I don't have a method for it. There's no method for surrender. Yes. Yeah, because the mind wants to know how to surrender because it seems so difficult. But I can say it's actually very easy when you stop trying to figure out how.
Yes. Yeah, the mind is gets caught in these loops of trying to figure it out and thinking it has to do with understanding.
Yes.
But it's, on some level, isn't it the end of understanding?
It is. It's the end of mind trying to know or to have a place to stand on, which is always a place of knowing. So it's the freedom to live from the unknown as the unknown. And again, very frequently that's kind of interpreted as the kind of uncertainty of the world. Well, of course, the world is uncertain and life is uncertain, but it's more living from the unknown as a place within yourself that has no position, no standing place, no pedestal.
Right. And no boundaries.
And no boundaries. It's an infinite non-place, if you like.
Right. Placeless place, absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, when we discuss topics like this, and this is always a challenge because words are designed to describe what's apparently happening, not to describe what actually is. That actually can't be described really with words. Would you agree?
No, it can't, which is why I started off this conversation by saying there isn't something fixed about what is the essential teaching or the essential offering. It's unfixed, and I guess there is a very clear and strong message in that others perceive, but from where I stand, I can't fix it in words.
Right. Well, doesn't it feel like it's a living thing that does itself? It's not really your teaching, it's just what's unfolding through that particular body mind based on what the person in front of you or the group in front of you is requiring. Isn't it more like that?
Yes, absolutely. It's a living inquiry. So it's not a teaching that belongs to anyone.
Yes.
The only reason perhaps for saying or describing it as a teaching is one for the ease of language.
Yes.
Otherwise, we'd be sitting here in absolute silence.
Which would be fine with me, except I don't know how many people would like to just listen to a podcast where there's no talk.
Total silence, yeah. So that's one reason. And the other thing is it becomes a body of teaching, not in its essence. That's as you say, a living inquiry that can't be fixed,
right,
or limited by language. But it becomes a body of teaching only in it's almost like the behind the scenes, well, not so behind the scenes, it becomes at the forefront, but the structure, yeah?
Yes.
The structure of what is offered, whether that's a series of weekly gatherings, whether it's a certain program, whether it's a live event or a retreat or a this or a that or sessions, that becomes the body of the teaching. So really it's referring to that. And that is unique to the individuation through which this non-possessed and non-possessible expression comes through. There's nothing we can do about that. Yeah.
No, it's just what happens spontaneously. Everyone who's either tasted this or has had this sense of a separate individual completely disappear. It's one of the things I find beautiful about it is that there are certain, of course, commonalities, but there's a uniqueness in the expression as it comes through that it's completely unowned by the person who appears to be speaking.
Yes, it is a unique expression. And that unique expression also gets filtered through this individuation,
yes.
through each individuation.
Yes,
the wealth of experience, life experience, and experience on the inner journey is involved in that. Yeah. And that's unique for each of us.
Definitely.
Not everyone that awakens has the same background, if you like. Yeah. Yes. It's not homogenous. So there is a uniqueness that comes through, and that does filter in, unless we sort of cut ourselves off from that, and then it's a sort of disembodied absolute expression of the absolute, and I'm certainly not that.
Well, as long as you're in a body, being a disembodied expression of the absolute can get quite awkward.
It certainly can, but there are many attempts at that.
Yes. Well, I believe there's a misconception. I want to check to see if you agree with this, that you have to kind of reject the world or reject the body-mind, negate it in order to discover what is real or what is true or what you aren't. But is that required, or is that, I mean, it can appear that can be part of the exploration, because we have to recognize we're not just that, but it's not just a negation, is it?
It's very much a paradox, isn't it? Because you do have to turn, in some ways, I wouldn't call it attention, but you do need to turn allegiance from the world of form, in other words, the content of your experience, to the inner world. And in that way, that is a kind of, or can seem to be, a negation. Yeah. So it's a turning inwards, and that's necessary on the path. Otherwise, there's no true self-inquiry, and there's no inner transformation. For some, that does mean withdrawing from the world in some way.
Yes.
For others,
absolutely.
it's not. But it doesn't mean. I think the misunderstanding comes in denying that there is a bodily experience. Denying that there is a self here, or an individuation, a body mind that is experiencing something. And to totally deny that is sort of madness. Yeah, so that has to be included, but we can turn our attention away from the world in terms of seeking our identity or seeking our happiness or our fulfillment from the world. And for some, that means actually not being as engaged in the world. I mean, for me, that was definitely part of my path. I was very much, well, if you like, I was very much in the body, but I wasn't engaged in worldly activities. Well, I was to some degree, but not to a big degree. Yeah.
Yes.
So a lot of attention was on the inner. But eventually that also has to flow back into the world.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's like coming back into the marketplace. It's much more of a, if you like, a tantric approach, the tantric way. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
To immerse.
Embodied. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the work that we do is very much about that. It's an honoring of, first off, wherever the expression is now, but with an openness to what is unbound and open, as we started, or a sense of surrender of the contractions that we appear to hold on to, and at the same time a recognition that there is already a perfection in whatever is apparently happening, and that perfection, or that beingness, or whatever you want to call it, is already wholeness, already complete, already enough.
Yeah.
And it sounds
wherever we are, we can be at home in the depth of being.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's like it's being in the world, but not of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Being totally in the world without any denial, without any escapism, without any bypassing, without any transcending of the earthly experience. Being fully in it, fully immersed in it, fully engaged, fully, being total, being involved, but without being identified with it. There's the great paradox.
Yes.
That's not who you are. That's not what you are. And to turn inwards, to know the source of what you are, always, within every activity, within every aspect of life. That seems to be the greatest challenge. I mean, I don't find it a challenge, but certainly not now, but it seems to be what I come across as the greatest challenge. It's like it perplexes the mind. How can you be in the world but not identified with the world?
Well, but is it something you have to do, or it's something that's natural? I mean, isn't it? Especially if that sense of me has dropped away, or you've done a lot of the type of work that you and I do with people, it becomes quite natural to recognize that there's actually no one doing any of it. It's just what's apparently happening. There's just this unfolding. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would say it is natural, but I still think there's a lot of sticking places for people. In the sense that when something happens in the life that is unwelcome, unpleasant, painful, it sticks. The poor me sticks. The doer sticks. The one who wants to change it, get rid of it, sticks. So for that true transformation of non-doership, that's quite a journey. I don't think, it doesn't seem to be that easy, if you like. It seems to be something that needs to be revisited, remembered, re-recognized as an ongoing process. Just one moment of recognition of that just doesn't seem to be enough. Yeah, that's my direct experience.
That's how most people, they would you agree with this, that we experience this we may go through a period of the experience of the sense of me or doer-ship or decider or even the explorer or the seeker, that comes and goes until it stops.
Yes. And there seems to be some value in having the support of some kind, whether it's a community, whether it's a friend, whether it's a so-called teacher, whether it's something that can remember that. Yeah, it's like a frequency field, because the world is not. The world is lost in the matrix of identity. Yeah, the world is lost in the matrix of the self and the doer-ship. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's certainly almost universal agreement. If you look at the news, if you talk to your friends, if you talk to your relatives, there is almost a universal agreement that there is a separate individual who is making decisions, who's responsible, who's in charge of their life. That is the most common misconception. Wouldn't you agree?
Mm-hmm. That's right. So we need, for a while anyway, some kind of field of a new way. It's not a new way, it's a natural way.
Yes, natural, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a natural way, but it's a kind of field, which is why we can say, a sangha, a community, something, some crucible, some container for that remembrance, for that ongoing recognition to support that until that support is no longer needed, and one can live truly and freely liberated from the sense of doership.
Yes. And at that point, it's really no one doing that anymore, though. It's just what's unfolding, isn't it?
You mean the sense of non-doership or life?
Yeah, then it becomes just life living itself.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. I really like that part.
but that doesn't negate a certain sense of, you see, again, it's a paradox. Everything's a paradox, isn't it?
Yes, totally.
It doesn't negate the sense of should I call it responsibility? It's not a responsibility that comes from the tight knot of self, but it's a responsibility in terms of a kind of natural tending to what is arising. Yeah, just because there's no doer, it doesn't mean that, just whatever. Yeah, then
right. No,
that
people think I'm going to do no non-doing. That doesn't. That's just more doing. But if you're already the type of person, if that body mind is already about just taking care of itself and the world and its family, and it's never really doing that, even before this understanding. And then afterwards, isn't it that all that continues, but without, as you put it, the knot of self almost acting as interference or taking credit for it after the fact, as though I'm doing it.
That's right. Yeah. I think that's a crucial point, in that when there is a non-doership, when the doer has untangled itself, then there's still doing that happens. There's activity that happens, but like you just said, I think that's important. There isn't anybody here taking credit for it. I think that's the crucial part, because if we take credit for it, then that which seems to be done according to our plans or our wishes or our dreams or our hopes, then we take credit for that, and that can then uphold a sense of specialness or goodness or whatever identity is involved in that. But then when things don't go according to plan or according to our wishes, according to our dreams, then the opposite happens. We sort of take credit for the going wrongness of it. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So then I'm a failure, or I'm
yes.
not good enough, or I'm not loved enough, or whatever it is, or God's abandoned me, or life's abandoned me.
Right.
So both ways identity has been created. And so we are operating in a divided state, an inner division.
Yes.
And that's not the truth of who we are. So not taking credit for what is being done or what is being done through us is actually fundamental to this.
Yes. And again, as you at first it is an exploration where you keep catching that, I think I did that, or I'm taking credit for that, or I'm feeling like it's my experience, or I own it, and then that naturally drops away as the exploration continues or unfolds.
Yes.
But I love that it is that this that we talk about is what is already, and it's not like there's, I guess on some level there's always this support at a very, very deep level in the form of whatever's apparently happening in our lives, in our relationships, in experience. All of it is on some level, it's all, would you say would you agree that it's an invitation to the home we've never left? Something like that.
Yes, everything in our lives, whether we like it or don't like it, whether we think it's a blessing or a curse, is the invitation. That's like saying the beloved is in everything. Yes. Everything is a doorway to the coming home to love. Yeah.
Yes.
Love being the deepest acceptance, the non-resistance to what is, the unconditional acceptance of what is, and everything is that doorway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately, everything is that unconditional love, or that, what was the word that you used? Well, divine sounds too important.
The beloved?
The beloved. I love that expression. Yes.
Yeah.
The beloved. Everything already is the beloved.
Yeah. And that's very challenging sometimes for individuals, seekers, or whatever, to really get, because one of the things that I hear most often is, well, what about illness? Yes. What about physical pain? It's all very well when there isn't illness or there isn't physical pain, but when that is, how can that be the beloved? So there we have, quite a deep invitation in that. That doesn't negate the suffering of physical pain.
No, and you still need to take care of what you need to take care of.
And again, there's a great paradox in that. How can you bear the unbearability of pain whilst opening to the deepest acceptance? Yeah, it's quite a challenge for the human, on a human level.
On a human level, yes, absolutely. Yes, but as you said already, the surrender and the openness and the allowing is not really the vehicle so much as what enables that to be recognized.
Yeah. So then from that perspective, there seems to be somebody here who is doing the allowing.
Right. Yeah,
there seems to be somebody here who's doing the accepting.
Right.
And there is, whilst there is still a sense of me, a sense of, being able to contrast and feel, sense the difference between that closure and that openness, then there does seem to be a self that is being invited to allow.
Yes, yes.
So again, it depends on the where one is within oneself, and that's not a sort of brownie point system. It's just honest. It's just an honest acceptance of what's actually happening here.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, one way to say it too is the beloved is unconditional love, and it's not separate from all manifestation, but also all manifestation is included.
Yes.
And every, however it's appearing.
Yes. Yes. Inseparable.
Yes, yes, totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we could probably sit here for a while in silence, and it'd be totally fine. So we've covered a lot, actually, and it's been very beautiful to hear your expression of it. Is there anything else that you think it might be fun to talk about? If there's anything else that comes up.
Well, I can fish around, but I'm not sure if I'm going to catch anything.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add? That's another way of saying it. Instead of fishing, just see if anything just arises. If not, it's totally fine. I mean, what we've covered so far has been beautiful.
You see, when two silences meet, there's nothing to say.
No. Although there can be a lot of laughter. Do you find there's a lot of laughter sometimes in your retreats and in your...
Yeah, there's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of tears. There's everything. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
There's everything. Yes. I mean, what can I add to that? I mean, so many words to say the same thing.
Yes.
I do think we're living in I think we all think and feel that we're living in intense times.
Yes.
We're living in immense times where there's a possibility of a great fork in the road, if you like, a bifurcation point, and more and more people are seeking freedom within the world of confusion and chaos and intensity. And so certainly what I bring, either spoken or unspoken, to the conversations I have, to the inquiries, to just the energy field, is not separate to the current times that we live in.
Yes.
Whilst I don't speak specifically about circumstances, it is very much a part of that, because it's not a sort of spiritual awakening that is separate from that.
Over here. Over there.
It's very much to do with the times that we live in, where fear is rampant, and anxiety is rampant, and intensity of emotions and uncertainty is rampant. And so I'm personally interested in supporting people in living as the truth and freedom of who they are, or I prefer to say what they are,
Yes, definitely.
within this matrix.
Yes.
Yeah. So in that sense, it's not really so much spiritual, it's human.
Yes.
Yeah, at this point, to me, spiritual and human just collapse into each other. Yeah. So
where's the boundary?
Yeah, it's like the old model of spiritual awakening as something that you do to transcend the world, or when you've finished being involved with the world, or so on. I don't think that's relevant anymore.
Yeah, it's outdated.
Yeah, and so I'm very interested in supporting people in living a life of true, I could say fulfillment, I prefer to say freedom, within whatever mess we find ourselves in.
Yes.
Standing as openness, standing as presence. In other words, knowing that is your true nature within the storm. Yeah.
Yes,
within the storm, recognizing the I in the midst of the storm. And so at least in my work, I seem to draw a wide variety of people. I mean, everyone's a seeker in some way.
Yes, absolutely.
But
whether they know it or not. Yeah.
Yeah, but not necessarily always in a very traditional spiritual form, although there are many traditions that all flow into this. So that's really the juice of what I work with.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And what I'm personally interested in, just because that's what's arising here.
Yeah, sure.
It wasn't pre-planned.
No. And if it was pre-planned, God's laughing and she has a really good sense of humor. Yeah. Again, there's so much in common in that when people show up to a seminar, they bring whatever they're engaged in, and the dance starts there.
Yes.
Yeah. Or here.
Yes, indeed.
Indeed, yes. Anyway, it's really been fun dancing.
Dancing through words.
Yes. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Amoda Maa. You can learn more about Amoda Maa at amodamaa.com. That's AMODAMAA.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe so you have immediate access to future episodes. Please give us a 5-star rating and share it with the people you care about. If you'd like to learn more about my work, my mentor Lester Levinson's work, and the Sedona method, please visit www.sedona.com. As you explore our site, you'll learn the key to lasting happiness, success, peace, and emotional well-being. We have books, courses, events, and plenty of free material to explore. Again, go to sedona.com. That's sedona.com. Thank you for being here, and we'll catch you in the next episode of Letting Go and the Greatest Secret.